고민도 많이 했는데 막상 가서 언어와 민족과 문화와 성별 상관없이 일하시는 하나님을 경험하는 귀한 시간이었던 것 같습니다. 그리고 홈레스 사역을 가면서 조금이라도 더 이상 주저하면 안 되겠다라는 생각이 들었어요. 그래서 하루라도 빨리 더 이렇게 나가서 복음이 필요한 곳에 하나님의 사랑과 복음을 전해야겠다는 생각이 드는 아주 좋은 시간이었던 것 같습니다.
In my group, it was Mary, Jackson, and I. So it was a lot less of us compared to the other group. We talked to about 5 homeless people, excluding like the group of 6 people that we had, and we were able to pray for maybe like 4 people because certain people rejected our prayers. And I think I always want to do this outreach where like you go and you actually talk to them rather than just handing out food, because as you know, like we want to do something where it's not just stuff that we give, but we give like the gospel and God's presence. And so when we went out there, I think one of the main things I learned is that I get to know their names. I met Phil, I met Anthony, I met James, and I met these people, and I think when I think about them, now they're people with specific prayer requests. Even if they didn't know how to articulate it because they had little physical illness, I was able to notice like, oh, I could pray for them in this area. Some of their prayer requests is simple as like, oh, like food, just daily food, or healing from just the culture, or being separate from their families, a lot of different things like that. I think one of the main things I got out of it is just knowing their names and knowing what to pray for. I think that's the biggest thing, and recognizing their hurts too. And thinking like, what would be the most effective way to go about it? Because there's so many different ways you could serve them, and even within the homeless community, there's different types of people that not one method is gonna work, and some people test your patience. It's hard to love certain homeless people who demand stuff out of you, and when that happens, you recognize like the gospel. Like Jesus, when he died on the cross, he didn't die for just the easy people. Sometimes when we go out, we try to look for like the easy homeless people to like talk to, but it's like God didn't die picking and choosing like, oh, let me die for her sin and his sin, but not him because he's demanding and he thinks that he deserves it. Like he died for everybody. And I think that's something I noticed as we're reflecting on it, because every time we got into the car, I was like, hey, well, how do you feel? And trying to think on like each person, like what did we learn, what did we notice? And it's really that simple as the gospel. Like everyone's different, everyone's struggle is different, everyone's response is different, but to really like love them the same, I think it's the heart that we want to get. And so I think I didn't get it obviously, but at least I'm trying. So yeah.
I went to homeless outreach with Ian yesterday. I think there was like a lot of expectations that I had going into it, hoping that there would be people who were saved or people who wanted to know more about Jesus. But there was kind of a discouragement because surprisingly a lot of people actually didn't even want to be prayed for, and I felt very lost. But something I was reminded is that we're not there to save people, that's something God does. And what was beautiful about homeless outreach is that we were really able to see that we were just scattering seeds so that God could water it and help these people grow in their relationship with Him. So that was awesome. And even though a lot of people didn't want to receive prayer, it was just good to know that we could encourage their day by just giving them warm food and a sleeping bag. And we did have some fun conversations too, which I think is really helpful because it can be very lonely sometimes, being homeless and not having someone consistently to talk to. And so yeah, it was a blessing. I would love to do it again next year or maybe even sometime soon. And yeah,